Hello, so today I'm going to walk you through a very beginner-friendly GRC demo using SimpleRisk. If you're looking to expand on your portfolio when heading into GRC, this is the perfect video for you to follow so that you can do just that. So we're going to use a weak password policy as our running example, as our scenario, and see how risks are identified, documented, reviewed, tested, and reported all inside one GRC platform, which is, by the way, free to use. You can just follow the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description below to get started and follow along with me. The goal for this is not perfection, but rather understanding how governance, risk, and compliance work together in a real tool. So here we have this SimpleRisk dashboard. This is the risk overview. We're going to come back to this in a minute, but we're going to go into the governance tab and in the document program tab. Here we're going to see all the different documents that have been made, policies, standards, guidelines, etc. And we're going to make a new one. We're going to make one that is a standard. We're going to give it the name Password Security Standard. Here we're going to choose a framework. I'm choosing ISO 27001 and NST CF. I'm choosing the control of identity and access management because this is an issue of access management, unauthorized access. I'm choosing different stakeholders, who is going to be the owner of this document, team members, and we're going to leave a couple of things bare because we just want to get the standard made. And here we're going to just choose where we're going to save it. It's basically for organization purposes, and I'm going to save it under test. And finally, we're going to choose a file to represent the actual document. So I just chose a picture because I don't have the actual standard, but you can choose whatever you feel is necessary. Now I'm going to make a policy document, and this is a passwords management policy. We're going to use the same frameworks, the same controls, but we're going to add a couple more that include passwords. So I'm just going to type it in the search bar to quickly get them. We're going to include the same stakeholders as before, same document owners, and the same location. So it's kind of like a rinse and repeat. I'm adding revised because I've already made these documents, but the first time I did it, I just made a mistake. So now we're making a procedure document. We're calling it Passwords Creation and Maintenance Procedure. We're going to choose the same frameworks, same controls, and this is going to include the step-by-step instructions as to how to deal with password maintenance and creation in the company. And same settings, same metadata as before. And as always, revised. And just like that, we've made all of our documents. Now we have to make something in case real life happens, an exception to the rule. So let's say we are using an app that has not been updated. We have to make an exception for the passwords in that case. We're going to call it Legacy Application Password Limitation Revised. This exception status is open because it's still ongoing, same frameworks, and we're going to be using the policy that we just made. And in the description, I'm just going to describe quickly, briefly, the exception, and I'm going to give a justification for the exception, like why am I allowing this to continue, basically. We're going to add the next review date because that's important, and we're going to approve it. And just like that, we have an exception, and there's many more that other users have created. And we're done with the governance side of GRC. Now we're moving on into what we're going to use to make a risk assessment. Here we're going to make an asset. We're going to create one. I was just deleting the previous assets I had. So this is going to be called a corporate email system. This is the main asset that we're going to be using as the subject for our passwords issue. And I gave a very quick description of it. Which is cloud-based email system used by all employees. I once again added some security controls, the same ones as I did before. I'm using the ones under the category of identity and access controls, IAC. And just like that, we have made an asset. So now we're going to go into risk management, under submit risk, and we're going to create a risk. This is going to be called weak passwords enable account compromise revise, because again, I've already made this. And we're just going to add risk mapping. So possible risks that have already been categorized within the app. It's very useful. So in this section, we're going to be including threats and vulnerabilities very soon. And once we're done creating this, we're also going to add a mitigation plan. So how are we going to fix everything? And we're going to include threats. And right now, the only threat is hacking and other cybersecurity crimes. We're going to include the category as access management, but honestly, all of these but the subject are required. We can add a risk source, so you can be very specific. And we can add a risk scoring system, which can be a lot of things, but I'm going to choose the CVSS. And I'm just going to set the parameters according to our risk. In the additional notes, I'm going to include a description of the risk. In risk assessment, I'm going to include some more specific information about threats and vulnerabilities. And I'm going to include a tag so I can find this easily next time. And then I'm going to submit the risk. Now, let's work on a mitigation plan. Once you submit the risk, you can easily work on a mitigation plan by changing the tab to the mitigation tab. And here we can add the planning strategy, which include the 4 T's: treat, transfer, terminate, and tolerate. Some more security controls. And at the side of it, you can see the tabs of current solutions, security requirements, and recommendations. So here I'm just going to add more information about our mitigation strategy. The current solution, and the exact things that we can do to fix this issue. So these two can go hand in hand. The mitigation plan, as well as the governance documents. Now we can perform a review to make sure that this risk is being mitigated. We add a comment to give a review, essentially. This is the compliance side of GRC. Now I'm going to submit another risk just for demonstration. This one is shared passwords among staff. That's not a very good internal practice, so I'm just going to add all of the risk mapping categories that are pre-made here, as well as the threat mapping, more categories, just a lot of metadata to beef up this record. And here I'm just adding the CVSS record. Now we're going to submit our risk. So now we're going to provide a mitigation strategy, and this one is different. This one is research. So we're still dealing with it, but it's different this time. Now we're learning instead of actually treating it. Once again, we're just adding more information to our record. It's really cool to mess around with these kinds of controls. You learn a lot. Once again, we're adding the solution that we're currently implementing. Well, this is made up, so we're not doing anything, but you know. And that's about it for now. And as you can see, the residual risk reduced because we added a mitigation plan. And here, under the Review Regularly tab, you can actually view all of the risks that are yet to be reviewed. So now I'm just going to review the risks that we just created. Same thing, added it to a project. So now that we've done risk management, let's go into compliance, aka getting the proof, getting the evidence that we're actually doing what we're saying we're doing. So here we're going to conduct tests. And in these tests, we're going to provide reports that, okay, yes, we did this when we said we would do it, and these are our findings. We give the test name, duration, and by going into initiate audits, we can initiate our test. Then by going into active audits and searching up by their specific name, we can find the test that we created. And if we click on it, we can provide some updates on the test and how it's going. We can say it failed, it passed, some more insights. It's very useful. Now, with our previous risk, let's just say that months have passed by. I've decided to close those risks, provide the feedback that the risks have been mitigated, they have been closed, and we're good to go. So the next stage I'd like to show you is the assessments or the self-assessment screen. So here, let's say you're new to this application. Here we have a pre-made quiz that you can use, fill out the questions, and it allows you to essentially get to know your security posture, what you do, what you don't do in the organization, or what you know is done in the organization, add comments, and then once you submit, you can then add risks one by one instead of making one risk at a time and it being confusing with all of the different parameters. So this is a very quick way to get started. And now we have the very first screen that you saw, the dashboard, and here you see your closed and open risk, everything you have done and haven't done. Here we see the risks more specifically by category, so you can really get into all of the nitty-gritty of the risk. Categories, controls, team members, which frameworks you used, which you didn't, which scoring systems you used. It shows you a lot of information on that. Then we move on to risk appetite report, which shows you all of your risk, all of them. And then we go into risk trends, which shows all of the risk logged, solved, closed, and opened. And you can perform a lot of other things. Here we can have a graphical report of the risk over time. You can have risk advice based on some of our different risks that we have, what we can do. And a lot of other tabs that are very fun to explore. And this is a control gap analysis tab where you can see where you currently are in your security posture and where you would like to be. We're not very good. And that is it for the demo and the tutorial on SimpleRisk and how you can use it to show that you're actually pretty well versed in governance, risk management, and compliance.